Hey everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for Grow My Bag TV. There was a lot that I needed to cover in the Crypto Minute. Obviously, we never get to all of it and we never have a discussion about it. So this is why I have the longer videos. There's a lot going on. So VanEck, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley all have insights for 2024. Look at that. I just dated myself. I said 19. Let's see. Let's start with VanEck's Gabor Gurbacs. I seriously apologize for brutalizing your name. I apologize. Reach out to me, tell me how to pronounce it, and I will make a correction. But the blockchain industry right now is low. For me, I'm looking at it. It's at a point where I could be buying. Get my point? Gabor Gurbacs is saying, listen, it's nothing but positive going forward. Right? Once you legitimized Bitcoin with the Bitcoin spot ETFs, even though the SEC is saying, oh, we don't endorse that, blah, 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 don't care. Don't care. That you just put it in the hands of firms that can put it in the hands of tons of people, tons of investors, which means that you've also opened their eyes to the cryptoverse in general. They'll be looking at Bitcoin for as a store of value. They'll be looking at altcoins for their use cases. That's how they're being educated. DeFi, tokenization, metaverse, all of that is now on the table, wide open. So I'm paying attention to all of that. Again, I'm a principal of the Metaverse Standards Forum, so I'm paying strict attention to that space. And there's a lot of cool stuff going on around there. BlackRock's advertising says that there's going to be like ridiculously increased, I would say, competition in the retail space. They already deal with tons of institutions. They already deal with, the rich and the wealthy. But the way I'm looking at it now is that they're reaching out even further and saying, we would like to deal with retail. Just saying, there's a lot there. I mean, I could be reading into it, but that's what I really think. What else is going on? Apparently, there was an attack against Bitfinex for their XRP, and Ripple actually stepped in. Paolo Ardoino of the CTO of Ripple says they were able to thwart that attack. That's big. That means they discovered it. They watched it. They, basically triaged what was going on and were able to stop it. That's huge. The reaction time. Every time I talk about somebody being hacked, things like that, I'm paying attention to reaction time. Ripple's reaction time was no joke, and the same for Bitfinex. Those are two teams that deserve a pat on the back for how fast they were able to get involved in that and stop it. That says a lot. I'm just wondering how much of a treasure trove of information and data that they were able to retrieve because of that attack, right? And I'm dying to know who did it. Was it the Lazarus Group out of North Korea? Just who was it? So there's a lot going on there, and I'm hoping that more information will come out about it. But that tells me that the networks and even that centralized exchange are pretty strong. Just saying. And I'm not a fan of centralized exchanges. I use them for the time that I need them, and then that's it. I'm in and I'm out, right? It's very rare that you catch me holding a lot in an exchange. It's because I have something coming up, and that's where those digital assets need to be for what I have planned. Other than that, nope. I'm having most of my digital assets in a non-custodial wallet. So do your research on that. If you have questions, let me know. Like I said, I'm taking all questions over at growmybag.tv. Love to hear questions because sometimes they're the same questions I have and it forces me to go do the research, right? And then you have the U.S. obviously celebrating 11 Bitcoin spot ETFs being approved, while South Korea is taking a very interesting step at considering more regulation, deeper regulation for mixers. If you don't know what a mixer is a service that will take your crypto jumble it around 50 bazillion times within their space, within other digital assets, and then give you other digital assets, basically trying to help you erase the trace of your assets. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think it's going to be tough for mixers to survive going on in the future. But obviously, where there are rules, there are ways to break rules, and that'll happen. If you don't mind me, I'm actually looking over here and paying attention to my fireplace because I was a little bit chilly, so I had to start a fire, and I just want to make sure I don't smoke too much. But I pay attention to each one of those things. A mixer is mixers play a big role for some honest people, but also for a lot of nefarious people. So I'm paying attention to that space in a major fashion. Something else that I'm paying attention to is JP Morgan predicts that, the ETF market space is going to open up in big ways. And I've been saying this for a while. When you look at how those ETFs are going to be marketed, who they're marketed to, the fees that are involved, Grayscale is out of control with their fees. They're trying to justify it as, well, we've got experience. I'm just saying, if I was looking from the outside in, I wasn't involved in this industry at all, I'm going to look at Grayscale and be like, you're crazy expensive. And I'm going to look at somebody like Cathie Wood, who's been out there with her and her team's research for a while. And I'm going to be like, I think I'll pay attention to that. I'm going to look at Fidelity and BlackRock because they're the biggest in the world. I'm going to be like, they got to know what they're doing. Why? Because they've been playing around with money for eons and they hold the most. We'll get to Vanguard in a minute. I think that's just funny. So when I look at Grayscale's pricing, I'm just like, wow, they're just not being competitive, and they think they can charge at that level. And I'm like, yeah, they've been around for a while. They've had their trust, and they've been through the trials and tribulations, but is it better than the others? I don't think so. In my humble opinion, I just don't think that they're, 1.5%, fee? I just don't see it. I just really don't see it. Imagine the kind of research and advisors that you have access to if you're able to get into a BlackRock ETF just by being a client. You're not a customer at that level. You're a client. Wow. So I'm thinking about how does all that work, in the real world? So I'm just thinking that, BlackRock's advertising is saying, we want to get more people. We want more retail. Think about the game that they've been playing in bed with Coinbase in many ways. Look at Circle. They're in there with Coinbase. Coinbase is all about the retail space. Again, they do the institutional investment and wealthy people, all that good stuff, but they were also in there for the retail space. I keep saying to people, you got to do your own research on what kind of fees you're willing to spend, all that other stuff. What are you getting for those fees? If all you're doing is holding something for me, I don't know that I need to pay you for that. If you're going to give me other avenues, other options, better advice than what I might see. Remember, all these companies, they have applications that run through 50 bazillion, literally just millions and millions of transactions. So they can kind of tell you what could happen, right? The percentage chance that something could happen. So those are things that you could tap into. But if I don't see that from anybody, I'm not going to give you my money. I don't need you to manage that. It's a different way for me to invest in Bitcoin, and I'm kind of interested in finding out more about it. But am I going to pay an exorbitant fee like 1.5%? I think Grayscale needs to go back to the books on that one, because that's just nuts to me. Something that I'm also paying attention to is Morgan Stanley has some insights about CBDCs versus the US dollar. As CBDCs become more popular, they're saying that goes against the US dollar. Why does a dominant, currency of the world exist? It's because it was hard to value one fiat against another and come to an agreement. That's why you have something like the US dollar. The US dollar isn't the first, might be the last if you think about it. because I don't think it's going to be BRICS. I don't think it's going to be any one of those currencies. I think it's highly possible that you could see changes happening between that, the existing, lifestyle right now, using fiat versus crypto. Because the establishment of what is worth something versus something else is already there. The comparison between how much Polygon costs versus Bitcoin is already there. The math is predetermined. The math is already there, already in the mix. When you look at CBDCs, what's the difference between their fiat and their digital fiat, which is a CBDC? Jack. So I'm still going to have that problem. Do I actually value your fiat versus my fiat the way we're looking at them? There's no common stick to measure them by? I don't know. Then when I look at CBDCs versus, so let's just say CBDCs were able to win out against the dollar. That doesn't stop the dollar from being used all around the world. People are still going to want it. What's something else that's going to happen? You still have cryptos that are coming along that people are already using. Sometimes I think these rules and regulations are done in a vacuum and they're not paying attention to what the reality is on the usage. Just look at the transaction amounts for cryptos that are out there. The more time passes, the more transactions are going to happen. Everything else is going to happen. And you'll start to see the crypto market go into the trillions. We're already at a trillion. I'm talking about going into further trillions. This is what I mean. When people see how fast it is, how cheap it is, how easy it is, they'll start switching over to crypto. Why? Because not too many people are interested in messing around with a CBDC with the government looking over your shoulder about everything that you spend your money on. Because right now they can't do that. So why are you switching to a CBDC? Digital? Why? A lot of people don't even use cash. So why do you need a CBDC? Except to literally control my money. My money. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm paying attention to those things. Let's go back to Vanguard. I told you I was going to go back to Vanguard. Vanguard, I think, they made a bad decision. Then they doubled down on the decision to say, we're not going to allow crypto at all within our firm. Huh? What? Yet Vanguard does own stocks and companies that do crypto. But those are investments from their eyes. They're not directly involved in crypto. And who knows, they might actually change their stance there as well. But I think because of that, what you're going to wind up seeing are people leaving Vanguard. Vanguard is into a lot of businesses for their 401k business. So you have a lot of people involved in Vanguard because of that. And I've been reading how more and more people are going, how come I don't see a Bitcoin spot ETF? Oh, maybe I should go set that up on my own. I'm suspecting that there are going to be a lot of financial advisors that are going to be out there getting more business because people want to understand, if I'm with Vanguard, how should I maneuver my money so I can gain some exposure to a Bitcoin spot ETF? Given the predicted value over the next few years, how can I get involved? You'd be surprised at how many people do not actually have their risk spread out, meaning I've got some in crypto, real estate, businesses, stocks, options, bonds, mutual funds, money markets, 401ks. A lot of people have a 401k and it's just in this one company. It's like just in Vanguard or just in that. A lot of companies don't go through the trouble of saying, oh, we're going to give you a bunch of things to choose from. Yeah, they'll give you a bunch of things to choose from one company. And if it happens to be Vanguard, you have no exposure. I'm expecting to hear about more and more money. I mean, I'm not talking about Vanguard going broke. I'm just saying that I'm thinking that Vanguard is going to lose a few billion, perhaps more. And the reason why is because they just refuse to get involved with Bitcoin. And I can understand, I'm not mad at them for, their economic choice, right? That's how they're looking at it. I disagree, but I can understand their thinking. I don't know. Anyway, this is Eddie J on. Oh, no, can't go yet. You know what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to go over the numbers. So let's do that. Let's pull that, push that. There you go. Oh, let me move my notes. You know me. I don't mind showing my notes. I do my notes all the time, so you can see what I'm talking about. And these are just the excerpts from the actual articles that I'm writing and publishing. Right? And we're looking for more writers, more publishers, more creators. So if you are one, drop me a note at growmybag.tv and let's have a conversation about how we can work together to grow the community. All right. Anyway, let's go over these numbers. Actually, let me refresh this real fast because I haven't refreshed since I started the video. So I think it just refreshed. Let's just click one more time just to be sure. Yeah, not much movement. So over here, we go down to, look at that. That's 5%. So Helium Mobile's down 5%. Not really worried about. Jito is down 6%. Jito's been down a lot. And I'll show you how the Fear and Greed Index has also dropped precipitously. Went from positive, went from greed all the way down to neutral in a heartbeat. And I think that's because of overselling. I think people are really overthinking and overreacting to things. We'll get into that. On the win side, we come all the way down to here when we hit 5%. And you've got B&B is up by 5, Injective is up by 5. I'd be paying attention to this 5% because B&B had moved positive before, so did Injective, so did Toncoin. So I'd be paying attention to those because that might be money on top of money. And I would want to shave, for me, I would want to shave some off. Why? Because I like taking profit every now and then. I want to get to a point where the money that I have invested in this space is 100% profit. Right? And I've been able to pull out my initial investment to be able to invest that someplace else. That's what I'm looking for. That's just me. Other people have other ideas. I like to hear your ideas, by the way. So as we go up the chain, like I said, Toncoin, Tezos, I was paying attention to earlier today, up 6%. Chili's, I haven't touched Chili's in a while. I think I still hold some. It's at 8%. Beam, I haven't played with Beam. I haven't done enough research to know what they're all about, but I've heard the name touted about a bit, so I want to pay attention to that. I think for right now, you can't even get Beam in the United States unless you do a couple of things, jump to some hoops. Psy is up 10%. That's interesting. Pocket Network is up 10%. Sui up 10%. I don't pay attention to Blur really, but it's in the top 100, up 12%. This one right here, Dog Whiff Hat. I don't even know what the hell that is, but it's up 16%. They're trying to make this the new bonk, the new meme coin. I'm not touching it. If you're touching it, let me know what your experience is and we can have a conversation about it. I would go over the economic data, but there's a lot going on this week. You have retail sales. Retail is going to be where it's at. That happens on Wednesday. You've got some manufacturing news that'll come out tomorrow, but that's not really much to talk about. Let's see how else we have. Building permits. For looking into the future of things, you have the Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic is going to talk at 7:30 a.m. on Thursday. I think we've heard enough. We kind of know where they're going. And he talks again at 12:05. Friday, you have the consumer sentiment. That's something I'm paying attention to. Vice Chair Supervision Michael Barr is going to be speaking at 1 p.m. on Friday. And you also have the San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly is speaking on Friday at 4:15. Those are all great things. Remember, yesterday, pay attention to yesterday's Sunday roundup where I told you about the different earnings reports that are coming out all this week. It's a huge earnings week. You have more financials coming out, meaning more financial institutions coming out with their numbers. You have service sectors, retail coming out. So I'd be paying big attention to this. Like I said, the Fear and Greed Index yesterday was at 60, still in the greed space, but it's a precipitous drop from the 70s that we were in previously all the way down to 52 where it is now. DeFi Llama, we're still at $74 billion in, just looking at the dogs out there on the golf course playing around. At $74.318 billion in total value locked. Yeah, it's down a little bit, but down a little bit. In the bigger picture, it's up. Just look at this. In the bigger picture, it's up. Just saying. Looking at Bitcoin as a number, again, look at right here. If I draw a line, because you want to connect this one, something like that. I think that's the closest you can get. maybe. Yeah, this is the closer you can get. Look at how tight that band is that you're trading. Just look how tight that is right here. Went up a bit, down a bit, still within that same actual narrow space. So I'm waiting for it to go up. And I'm using this opportunity to use my dollar cost average strategy to continue buying in. And I'm hoping, others are doing their own strategies to do the same. Somebody said that they're expecting Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin over the next year. That's possible. Like, I'm not even going to play. That's actually possible, right? And you can see who's up, who's down. Solana still greatly down under $100. Remember, just a few days ago it was at 90. So this 96 is a good raise if you were able to get in at that 90, right? Cardano's down from that 60 cents that it was looking at down to 53. Again, if I can get in at this point, that's what I'm paying attention to, right? These are things, I'm looking at things that are going to have high transaction values. That's what I have a whole list of things that I look at when I'm looking to trade. And I think that you should start creating your list as well. Take the information that you're gathering from all of these people that are sharing little nuggets with you and figure out what nuggets fit your perspective. And don't just pay attention to everything that fits. Pay attention to what's contrarian as well, because sometimes there are nuggets there too, right? Like I keep saying, I'm not a fan of Vanguard and their stance, Vanguard's stance on Bitcoin. But Vanguard as a money manager does incredibly well. So again, paying attention to things along with contrarian views is how you keep yourself out of the echo chamber. Don't do that to yourself. Don't put yourself in an echo chamber and go la, 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 and because you don't want to hear anything negative or you don't want to hear anything positive. Pay attention to both sides. There are nuggets to be had everywhere. Anyway, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you have a good one. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do, drop me a note. I love hearing from you guys. And if you don't, let me know how I can make this better for you, make it a better experience. Again, we're trying to grow a community and not just keep droning on about one thing. I don't like to talk about Bitcoin only or this only or that only. I'd like to talk about different subjects. In the future, we'll be talking about how I'm tracking various real estate properties around the country for possible investment. Anyway, I hope you have a good one. Don't forget to visit us on growmybag.tv. Bye-bye.